Calling all misfits, rebels, leaders, and teachers, welcome to the one place where the only way to fit in is by standing out, where big goals are met with even bigger action, and where we talk through, then tackle all things entrepreneurship. I'm your host, Kelsey Knudsen, and this is the Get Shit Done podcast. Welcome to the Rebelution. Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. Today, I want you to walk away with two things. I want you to understand how powerful words are. I'm joined by Erin Morris, who is an expert in this topic. But today is also special because this is a hot seat coaching segment of the Get Shit Done podcast. So we're also going to coach her up a little bit and talk about Instagram strategy in a way that's supportive and also authentic to her business and brand. I'm really excited to dive in. There's so much we're going to talk about today. I'm going to get out of the way and let Erin Morris please introduce yourself, and also where in the world are you today, to give us a little update on that.
Yes. Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. So yeah, I'm Erin. I am a done-for-you launch copywriter, and I am a full-time digital nomad, currently in Lake Tahoe in California. So just lapping up hiking and all the mountain vibes, which is 100% me and what I love.
That's so cool. I want to know how you started your business, and then if you could also bring us up to speed to where it sits today. What are the offers that you have? What's it look like?
Yeah, so I guess just a little bit of a backstory. So I've been living this full-time travel lifestyle for like 15 plus years now, but I didn't have the remote job until 2020. And it was always just, I love this freedom lifestyle. I love traveling. And then the world shut down, and it was a really good thing for me because I was like, okay, I needed to create something of my own. I kept picking up like odd, like entry-level jobs all around the world. And I was like, I'm too ambitious for this. I want more for myself, but how does that look when I don't have, like, my degree was in paramedic science. I was a paramedic. I was like, I don't have these transferable skills to get a remote job. So I was like, all right. So 2020 happened, world shut down, as we all know. I found a course to become a virtual assistant. And even at the time, I knew I didn't want to be a virtual assistant, but I was like, oh, wow, this puts me in front of all of these online business owners, which I didn't even know this female entrepreneurial world existed until this point. So I used it as this amazing stepping stone to just have all of these clients in all different fields and everything. And I was like, all right, what am I interested in? And this is when I found funnels, and I was like, I love this. I'm going to do like design and tech and copywriting. So did like further study on that and found out I'm not very good at design. The tech stressed me out so much, but I was like, I love copywriting. And just since then, I really just pivoted and niched down into launch copywriting. And what I love so much about launch copywriting is, with my background of just like this freedom lifestyle, having a launch, like someone can make their entire income of the previous year in a 10-day window. And that just blows my mind. And I know like all of my clients, like, well, we love money. We're not here for the money. We're here for what the money can create in our lifestyles. And that to me is like, you do a couple of these great launches every year, and you can have this incredible lifestyle, like full of freedom and whatever that means for you. Like maybe it's just you're a mom and want to have more time at home. Like it doesn't have to be this full-time travel lifestyle. So yeah, that's really like everything in a nutshell, and how I just like pivoted and found my specialty in launch copywriting.
I think that's such a cool story. And I saw on your website, you have OG Nomad since 2007. And I thought that was really cool too. I mean, I have so many thoughts and questions, but I would love for you to explain to the audience, what is the one thing you're struggling most with right now? And again, this is not to like shame her business. She is killing it, but just if we could improve on one area, what would it be? And also, if you're listening and this is you, pull up a chair, because we're actually going to spend the most of this segment coaching through it. So I'm really excited. So Erin, go ahead and tell the audience a little bit more about what your one business problem is.
Yeah. So I guess originally, like my only marketing strategy was through Instagram, and it was working for me. But then I guess like as the algorithm has changed, like it's been declining. So really, I am just like trying to bring up my Instagram. Like I have now got a few other strategies for getting clients and lead gen, but I still want to have this Instagram presence and I want to bring it back up. But I really struggle with it because I put so much time and effort into Instagram and into the platform, but I see little to no reward or no payout of it. And then also when I do get busy, because of this, it's the first thing that drops. I feel like and because I don't really have a strategy, I don't see this payout. So really, yeah, I'm just struggling with finding clients on Instagram and would like to keep using Instagram as a marketing platform.
Yeah. I think also with the Nomad side of your story being it's so clear and important and cool and interesting. And again, you've done it for so long too, which I think makes you even more of a badass. It's like you're the OG, you know? But that being said, I think that that platform makes sense for your business. I have questions though. I want to hear, tell me where like your dreamiest, best clients that you've had, where have they found you in the past?
Through a directory.
Okay.
My best clients most aligned clients, I shouldn't say best, they have come through a directory that I'm part of with one of the courses that I did.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I asked that question, folks, because there's two thoughts I have here. Instagram may be a piece of the puzzle. It's like a secret piece that you don't realize may have a little bit of an impact when people are making the decision to buy. Maybe your clients go over there to kind of just get a feel for who you are. But when you ask them how they found you, they'll give credit to something else, but maybe Instagram actually played a part. We just don't know. But also, Instagram may not be the be all end all in closing clients either, and that's okay. So that's why I'm asking these questions. I like knowing what's worked in the past because I think it's so much easier to replicate that and just improve that than it is to try something new. So I'm curious about this directory. Has that also kind of declined? Or has that been kind of a steady source for you for leads?
It was a steady source, and then my subscription ended to it and I didn't renew it.
Yeah.
However, it's actually on my to-do list to renew. It wasn't until I actually sat back and thought about where all of these aligned clients had come from. I was like, oh wait, it was that directory, and I just let the subscription lapse because it was quite expensive to renew it for a directory. It was $500 a year, and I was like, oh, do I need that? But I'm like, wait, no, that's where my best clients come from. It probably is it is worth it.
Yeah. Well, and 500 for the year versus running ads, and you already know that it's worked in the past. And
Yeah.
that's probably one, maybe two clients, and it pays for itself. So,
Absolutely.
I mean, we're already off Instagram. We're going to come back to Instagram, but I do think it's important to look at the things that work. And sometimes we just get so caught up in the thing we want to improve, we forget to assess what worked. I had a coach, and maybe you've done this. If not, you should. I had a coach tell me one time, write down every single client you've worked with. It took a long time, but write them all down. Rank them financially. How was working with them? Were they at the high level? Were they kind of scrappy? Kind of have an audit of each of these people that you've worked with. So rank them 1 to 10. 10 being they paid me the big bucks. They never questioned the invoice. It was totally aligned and a really great fit, to 1 being they haggled every penny. They were difficult to work with. It wasn't quite a fit. And then also your ability to deliver for those clients, rank 1 to 10, 10 being I killed it, 1 being it wasn't a fit. And then the last box, audit where they come from or where they came from. And I think that is a really interesting exercise because you're right. We think that a platform like Instagram may be the top one, but maybe it's your second most. And it doesn't mean to not be on the platform. It just lessens the pressure of you needing to have everything come from there. So that's definitely a piece of homework. And what's cool, this is a podcast, so you'll be able to watch this back and take notes on yourself. But I would definitely do that for you and for anyone listening who is just reassessing your marketing strategy. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, did you also launch a podcast recently?
I did, yes.
Okay. Tell me about how you decided to do it, and tell me about the podcast a little bit.
Yeah, so it's called Copy to Freedom. And the reason I wanted to do it was because I thought that with Instagram, I'm just not having, because my services are all high ticket done for you. I thought that I needed to be able to build more trust with my client or potential clients. And also I just love teaching. So it really did kind of go hand in hand that I could build this extra trust, also get to do what I love by teaching and sharing more of my insights. And yeah, I just thought, again, comparing it with Instagram, where the algorithm, people might see a little caption or a little bit of value, whether if it's a value post. But I was and I have actually seen that having my podcast, I've been on a couple of discovery calls where they've mentioned it. I mean, yes, listening to that, I knew I had to work with you.
I love that you started it. And if you hadn't, I would have told you to. So good job. Podcasts are awesome. Here's why. SEO purposes, it works like Google. So if someone's on Spotify or Apple and they're looking launch copy for a 6-figure launch, then if that's in your title, it'll pop up. So great for visibility there. It has a long shelf life. So even if you make an episode that comes out today, people will search and find and stumble upon it in months and years to come. And you can repurpose content that way. Also, a great strategy, I don't know if this is on your radar, but you should consider it. What if you invited some of your ideal clients on and did like an audit on air of their copy?
Oh, I like
Yeah,
that.
offer, I call it like the wine tasting business model, offer just like a tiny bit of value of their specific business. I mean, we're kind of doing that right now a little bit, but I do this because I love this. And I always feel like we don't talk about the middle enough in business. We talk about like, oh, here's what I learned from the last thing. I think it's important to talk about the messy middle. But that being said, podcasts can be also extremely strategic, and people forget that. They think like, oh, just podcast solo episodes add value. But I would totally invite past clients to come on. Hey, let's talk about how your copy was before. How was it after working with me? I would also have those ideal clients either in industries that you like or level of business that you're interested in working on. Invite them to come on and say like, I'll give you a free audit, and if you're comfortable, we'll talk about your Instagram or your landing pages or your sales page on air. And I think it will add value to you and add value to the audience too.
Yeah, no, I really love that because I guess like one of the places I do struggle is because I only offer done for you copy. These are for established business owners, but then I get stuck in my head about, okay, like I can't give too much value because that becomes like the people that are newer business owners that are DIYing and they're not my ideal client. So I always am like weighing up like, is this for a DIY, like newer business owner, or is this actually something that's going to be useful for someone who is ready to invest in my services?
Oh my gosh, you are in my brain because that's where I wanted to go next anyways. And I actually auditing my business in the podcast specifically is what triggered it. I had someone in the DMs, I don't know this person, just messaged me, hey, love your podcast. It's great for people just getting started in business. And I wanted to cry because that's not actually my ideal client. I'm the person, I want to help a lot of people. However, same for you. I'm a higher ticket one-on-one. I work with multi-6 and multi-7. That's kind of my target market. And I was like, oh my gosh, why am I trying to speak to everybody if I'm not for everybody? And so for you too, I actually, as I was reading everything that you sent over, I was like, she's trying to speak to everybody and she needs to speak to the people who they've already invested in the website designer. They probably have a fractional social media person or at least someone helping out who's being paid for that service. I think your people are further down the business journey than you think. And here's the key. If you're trying to speak to the people who are still DIYing it, you're not going to lose the ones who are really scrappy and believe in themselves. They'll still get value out of it, right?
Yeah.
They'll still learn and they'll file that away for later. Like, okay, when I'm at that place where I'm ready to invest, I'm reaching out to Erin, but here's what I need to do to get there. And those people will keep up. But if you try to speak to the masses, then it just dilutes it for everybody and it can be confusing. So all that to say, I want to talk more about your person. Tell me about your ideal client. And when you're picturing creating copy, like who do you picture on the other side of that phone watching that content?
I work with women specifically, and they're coaches and course creators. I don't have a specific like niche or industry. Like it is very broad, any sort of coach or course creator. Their business is established. They've probably been in business at least 2 to 3 years. They know who their ideal client is. They have services or offers that have been around for a while. They're making it work, but now they're increasing their offer suite or expanding their offer suite, and they're just looking to either have more live launches or evergreen funnels that run in the background and are looking for a copywriter to do it because they value their time and their specialty, and they know it's not in copywriting. And so they want to outsource that to someone who is an expert at doing that.
And why would they want to outsource that?
So again, because my ideal clients, yes, they like making money, but freedom is one of their main drivers as well. So they don't want to be working 40+ hour weeks. They want to be very strategic with their time. So also they know that sure, they could write the copy and it would be okay. However, investing in someone to write copy that actually there's a background in sales psychology, all of these other conversion factors, they know that it's actually going to do better if they outsource it rather than write something that's okay. It will get some results or some sales, but why not go, like if I'm going to spend all of this time launching a new offer, I would rather get great results rather than okay results.
Mm-hmm. You can shoot this idea down, but you said you have a paramedic background. Is
Yes,
that right?
I
How
do.
do you feel about like the health wellness space, specifically like coaches who are in that space? Interesting to you, not interesting, doesn't matter.
Yeah, like I really do enjoy working with like wellness coaches.
Yeah.
Less medical because I get there's a lot of like jargon in there and it's a lot more technical and that doesn't interest me. Like I really do like
Okay.
the creative
Okay.
side of writing as well.
Yeah. Well, and here's the deal, like just knowing what's a yes and no, that is so important in business. So I'm glad that you know. I was going to go down that tangent, but if it's a no, it's a no. So let's pivot. I think for you, like the core thing is the nomadic lifestyle. It's the nomadic coach who's already established. They probably wrote their own copy, right?
Hmm.
But they've probably, when we think about what they've outsourced, what are some things they've probably invested in at this point in their business?
They probably have a coach. I
Yeah.
feel like most people have a coach and they have invested in web design. Yeah, I would say that's and branding.
Yeah. And their web designer maybe helped them with copy a little, but it wasn't their specialty, or maybe provided some things to think about. But I totally agree. Here's where I'm getting at. I don't know that your people know what a copywriter is. Do you feel
Yeah.
that too?
I do, and this is like again like where I get really like caught up because I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I feel like I'm trying to like reach people in this like middle stage where they're moving on from DIYing, but they haven't yet found their copywriter. And so it's like this
Yeah.
like middle like sweet spot in the middle that I'm like, okay, like I need to catch them before they find their own copywriter or
Yeah.
become their own copywriter.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And I think because of that, there's a fine line between educating your audience enough of what you do, but also you need to attract people who already value the problem you're trying to solve,
Yeah.
right? And so if you just spend all your time educating why you should hire a copywriter, what does a copywriter do? What does effective copy look like? If you're in that land, that's speaking DIY language. Versus, I think you really focus on the time constraint because your person is someone who's traveling and really values that. I am like a homebody, but I love the mountains also. Right? But the nomadic thing may not hit for me, but that's okay. I think that that is so important to you, and it also is indicative of someone who really values their time, and so you really, really hammer down on that point about how to save time, why this is the solution. This is probably the coach who is their one-on-one is maxed out. Maybe they have a group program that is usually full, pretty full, but they know their copy could be better, and they know it because they're having to do some heavy lifting on the sales calls.
Yeah, yeah. I really like that. Yeah, one of the reasons I actually haven't gone down like specific like nomadic coaches is
Yeah.
because just my previous clients are basically all mums. Like I don't work, I don't know that I've ever worked with a nomadic person. So again, it's like one of these like things where I'm just like weighing up like which way do I go down? And it's not that I don't want to work with them. I'm just speaking from like history that I haven't.
Okay. Whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. That's so valuable because this is just a quick working theory. I could be off. I think that may be because moms are busy. They have to be extremely efficient with their time. And you are showing them a life of what could be. And maybe for them, it's not travel, but just the time freedom thing is really,
Exactly.
really important to them. That's
Yeah.
brilliant. So maybe it isn't about the travel piece, but it's just I have to be efficient with my time because I don't know the next time I'm going to have internet on my trip, right? Like that's your life and that's the content that you're sharing and should continue to share. That makes a lot of sense to me thinking about that because moms also are really time constrained too. So I would triple, quadruple, like I am your time saver. I am the person who will take this thing that is 10 sales calls and I don't know, a bunch of manual steps, condense it into this because my copy is so powerful that it will actually save you X number of hours, X number of time. I think you are
Yeah.
a time saver.
Yeah. And I think that also needs to be an education piece on people think, okay, I'm going to launch a new offer. Let's launch that in like a month's time.
Yes.
They don't, I think there needs to be more education on like actually how many parts of copy are involved or like how many pieces and how long that's actually going to take. Because the majority of people that come to me, they're like, okay, so I've got open cart in 4 weeks time and or like and I all of a sudden realize that I can't do everything. And I'm like, well,
Mm,
like, and then, yeah, then they want these like rush jobs. And I'm like, it's like, you just aren't giving yourself enough time.
Okay, that is brilliant because I think that I never usually say this, but I'm going to say it for you. I wonder if you have a smaller bite-size offer that is almost like a panic button for those people, where maybe it's like, okay, first things first, you're starting this process too late. However, I like you, I want to work with you. So here's what I can do for you. And maybe it's just the checkout page or a section of the website or a section of the sales funnel that you know is worth honing in on if you have limited time. Because I agree. I think your person is someone who needs to be thinking big picture. I mean, I have all my clients all right now are already planning for the whole next year. And I'm like amazed at how many of them, some of them are 7 figures, never do that. And I'm like, what is your launch plan? Because exactly what you're saying, that's where you get into the whole, oh my gosh, I have to create all of these emails, all of these landing pages, all of these processes. I'm not the best person for it. It gives you time to find that person, orient them, and then deliver on that. So I think your person is actually planning further in advance. They may not know they need to though. And with that being said, maybe we create a micro solution where you're able to support them in that moment of need that is not just like a under pressure full thing. Because you and I know if you're rolling up the sleeves and doing a full launch rollout for somebody in a condensed time frame, it's not going to be the best because they're not just because of you, but there's so many other factors where you just need more time and air, to breathe when you're rolling out a launch like that, especially something new.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, the truth is, we should have started this conversation 6 months ago. Are you able to move your launch? Yes, no, no. Okay, if you can't move it, then please use this resource. And when you are prepped for your next launch, let's talk. And please, let's have this conversation 6 months out, 3 months out, whatever that needs to be.
Okay. Oh, I like that. Yeah. Because I guess that when you first brought it up, I was thinking like, what's a small, like, done for you piece? But I guess it doesn't have to be done for you because I was like, really, everyone comes and like, I need a sales page or I need sales emails. But I wonder if you had this some sort of like education or like video walkthrough or something I can do on that.
I'm even thinking a checklist or an audit, something simple that shouldn't take a lot of your time. Because really at that point, you need them to realize they need to be more forward thinking than they are. And you can be a part of that solution package, but you need that to be, a part of it too.
Yeah. But again, this is like, I think like this call's really just like made me realize how many things I'm just like stuck in between like this or that. It's like, do I even want to be focusing anything on that client? Because I would say they're not my ideal client. I want someone who is more like forward thinking, more established, because I guess like that is really still the person that's just moving from DIY into like that. Whereas like when you're
next
more
month
established,
slow, I'm going to throw together a launch to make some quick money. That's not your person.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay. Another piece of advice. Have you ever sat and created, I'm assuming you have, but maybe it's worth revisiting this, just a Google Doc that has like, who is my ideal person? Like bullet points, like where are they at in their business? How big is their team? Like really, really, really in depth. And also pulling from past clients you've worked with, what stage of business they're in, what did their offer suite look like, what are they interested in? I think it's moms or nomads. It's busy people.
Yeah.
Those are your ideal people. And then from there, I also on this master sheet have what are their pain points? What are they struggling with? And I think they don't know that words are the solution. And so that's where it can be kind of tricky because I think when we're doing this on our own business, we already drink the Kool-Aid. We already believe in what we're doing, right? We already know the solution is the service you're providing, but we forget we need to speak the language of our ideal client. So what are some of the pain points that someone who has come to you or you've worked with in the past, what do they say to you when you're having those conversations?
Yeah, like, because they're definitely problem aware. They know they have a problem, but they're not solution aware. And that's like a big thing. Whereas I think like they're investing in design, but it's like, you can have a beautiful website and with like terrible words, people aren't going to buy, but you can have great words and terrible design and people will still buy. So that's definitely something that I'm always thinking about. But the pain points are like, I guess even just like not so related to copy, but even just launching, like even though they've had these established businesses, I'm always shocked at how little they know about like actually putting together a live launch. And that blows my mind. And like, spoiler alert, there's definitely another offer of mine coming in the future about this. But so yeah, I think it's really they don't, a big issue is also just like how they structure their copy. There's no like sales psychology. It's very like, it lacks personality. You could never tell the individual wrote it. It just sounds like a computer wrote it or anyone could have written it. They just blend in with all of the competitors. And now we're getting like so much more crowded industries, niches. It's like you actually have to stand out. And how do you stand out? And that's by using personality and actually showing who you are, because with personal brands, people are buying from people. It's not about the offer as much. So I think that's a really big thing. It's just they don't know how to show their own personality. And the structure for me is also a really big pain point or problem I'm seeing, because they'll just be like, slap an offer on the page and be like, all right, go ahead and buy it. And I'm like, okay, well, we need to actually talk about the problems and like what the solution is and build up this emotional connection before you even introduce what your offer is. And that's like a lot of sales psychology. So
I think you're spot on, but I think if we take it a step back further, your clients don't know all those words that you were saying. They don't understand that. Sales are inconsistent. Their one-on-one or their top offers full. And again, I really think there's something to the idea of doing a lot of discovery calls that maybe they don't need to be doing if they're doing a launch or an evergreen option. Or maybe people are reaching out who aren't ideal clients and they're having to do all of the back and forth to even get to a place to see if they're an ideal client. I think that's the pain they're feeling. And I think that's, again, back to that piece of we just know too much. We believe too hard, which is a good thing. But that's where it can be hard when you're thinking of your content strategy, because you already know the solution. And so we have to remember our client doesn't know the solution. 9 times out of 10, my ideal client reaches out because they're struggling on social media. And what ends up happening is we touch that a bit, but more often than not, that's not the core root problem. I think for you, it is in the sense that I think you just need to cut the BS. I think you need to do what I did. I think all these people in the kind of beginning DIY, I want you to understand why I matter. I think you let them go. And I think you really focus on that higher end established business owner and be okay being specific and speaking to that person.
I'm laughing because like everything you say is what I tell my clients. So like, I get it. I just like haven't done it for my own business.
Yeah.
But also like, to be clear, I don't deliberately try to like include these DIYers. Like I just have found it really hard to not talk to them, even though I'm not trying to. Yes.
And especially when times are slower, it's like any attention feels like good attention. If I have more time on my calendar, I may like start to like reach out to those people, but it takes the moment of like, wait, what am I doing? And can I truly help them with the current offers that I have? And the answer is no. And so I think that for you, I would just carve out a day and I would really dump out all of your ideas for content, all the topics you could TED Talk and podcast about. And I would really read it through the lens of like, okay, my high level, they're making at least $100,000 in my guess. Like I think they're 100 and beyond for sure. If I'm that person, that's my business. And I see this piece of content, is that going to be relevant to me? Yes, no. And I would be ruthless. I would just take a day and audit your own topics and probably cut some of those ones that on paper quickly feel like they're okay. But then you go back and you're like, yeah, I don't need to do an episode on that. I don't need to do a post on that.
Yeah.
So as far as like who you're speaking to, this sounds weird, but I would educate less and really focus on the solutions piece of it too. It might be interesting even to do some audits of people. I don't know if you've offered that before, but
I started
tell me your
to
thoughts
offer
on that.
I created an offer. I sent out a few emails about it. I did one. I was like, I don't know if this is for me.
Yeah.
I'm not sold on running it. I was like, I wouldn't mind doing another audit just to, actually I have one this week, but so test that one out. But it's really just, I just love the done for you component. And I felt like I put so much time and energy into this audit and I had so much less information and I just wanted to rewrite it that I found it really difficult to just like work it within my scope.
Okay. What about, could you audit like a post or something? Because what I'm getting at here is like your website talks about this too, and you talk about this a lot. Yes, you have the psychology and the sales piece dialed in. That's important in the services you provide, but also you are huge about understanding your client's tone of voice and being able to replicate that. So I'm wondering if there's like, if you could do like a side by side, even of just a caption or something.
Yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but I don't offer social media services. So I think it's like, it would probably be easier for me to do potentially like a section of a sales page or a landing page or an email.
Yeah. I think for people to see, and the reason being is ChatGPT. because here's the deal. I think that might be your competition to a point.
Yeah. I also think like my ideal client knows that ChatGPT isn't the answer.
Yeah.
So again, I think that the people that use ChatGPT are more of the DIYers, the earlier businesses. But then it's like once they do start progressing through into that 6-figure mark, they're like, okay, I know that this actually isn't helping me. It's not standing out. It's boring. It sounds horrible.
Here's why I think it's worth being aware of. It saves time.
Yeah.
It saves time. And depending on how technical you are, I'll be frank, all of my clients use it, which is wild to me in different capacities. Some use it just for inspiration. Some use it to like kind of get the ball rolling. Then they edit it. Some are really good at it. Some you can tell. All that to say, it provides the solution of saving time. And so that's where I think I would almost call that out in a way. This isn't the person who's just using it just to have captions and have them done, or have a sales page that's just done. This is the person who is manipulating it and they're learning to make it better. And I think they're doing it because it saves time.
Yeah.
So
okay.
It might be interesting. I may just pull in your stories and see, like, ask a couple questions, like, how established is your business? What was your revenue last month? Do you use ChatGPT? Yes. Yes. Love it. No, I'm a master, whatever. It might be interesting just to do some market research if that's part of it, because then what you could do is you can just show, okay, here's a ChatGPT, even just like sales section of a page, right? And then here's what I created. So then people can just see the difference.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you are right. Like I think everyone is using it now, like everyone, but maybe I'm just underestimating how much they're using it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, again, because it provides a solution for time, and time is valuable for your person, if they're able to get sales from it or not notice a dip in sales, I could totally see it being a part of the equation for them. But I would just do some market research, because if that's the case, that also would be interesting content of like, hey, ChatGPT is actually hurting your sales pages. You just don't know it yet. Like, I think that podcast episode would be really valuable. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. So just another thing I've thought of in that is just like educating people on conversion rate benchmarks, because people will come to me and they think they've either had a terrible launch or a really good launch. But then when we look at the benchmarks, I'm like, well, why do you think this is terrible when you've got a 65% open rate and industry standard is 30%? They're like, oh, and all of a sudden they're like, wow, I did so good. Or it could be like the opposite. They're like, yeah, I'm doing so great. Like I made all of these sales. I'm like, we look at the numbers and the data and I'm like, okay, well, you actually, if you're doing industry standard, could have like 10 times those results.
I think a higher level CEO audits their stuff. I think they're tracking numbers. They're looking at metrics. They may not know what they mean, but they realize like, okay, I'm always going to look at how that went and make it better. And so I think anything you can do to speak to that would be really helpful. Yeah. I think in closing, it's like really, really hone in on that high level. Even if you think about it and you're like, I've only really had like 1 or 2 clients at that level of business that I really love and work best with, that's okay. Even if it feels a little bit beyond, that's okay. I think just ruthlessly auditing your content ideas and making sure they speak at that high level. And if anything even touches the DIY stuff, I would just let it go. And then another thing too, I would really work on building some relationships with industries that can refer your business too. So website designers, branding, I don't know if that's on your radar too, but I would put a lot of effort and energy, have them come on your podcast too. A podcast is great because it's kind of like a home base for things like that. And it's an easy sell. You can say like, hey, I can promote and partner with your launch or whatever that could look like. But I would really work on getting in front of the people who already have curated those audiences too.
Okay. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. It's always been in the back of my mind to sort of have these relationships, but I haven't known how that could look and how I can build them. But yeah, I like bringing them onto the podcast.
People love talking. People love talking. I think your podcast decision was really smart. I would just really use it as a leveraging point. And I think that people forget how valuable that can be because it's a platform where you can bring people on and you can make it about them, but also you get in front of their audience, they get in front of your audience, and it helps to build trust and provide value just in a different way than you get on like scrolling Instagram. So I think you're doing the right things. I'd focus your strategy and effort in really making that podcast super valuable and strategic, and then just repurpose the heck out of that as much as you can.
Yeah. And then that's the content.
And that's
the content I've been struggling with.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think about it this way. When I'm thinking about Instagram, that's the last thing I think of. I think of podcast first. Who's listening to this episode? What do they need to hear? What action do I want them to take at the end of it, if there is some? And then from there, everything is broken down, and that dictates the rest of the content that fills in the gaps of the episode. So I put all of my eggs in the podcast basket, and then we disperse it elsewhere after that. And I just find that more valuable, because if someone's going to spend, half hour, 45 minutes listening to my episode, they're probably pretty interested in working with me or learning from me, right?
Yeah.
So
I hope really love that. It definitely does. And it does take away, I think, a lot of like the pressure and the stress of trying to create content for my podcast and then Instagram and then my newsletter. It's just like, okay, well, if everything stems from the podcast, that like one long form piece of content, and like you said, it trickles down and can be repurposed, it feels definitely less stressful. But I have also just like, even just like creating content for the podcast, it felt like hard, because I think I was putting like everything, it was just an individual thing, right? Where I'm like, why am I combining it all? That makes so much more sense.
Yeah. And I mean, as far as like podcast process, I plan my launches for the year. From there, I have an ideal client I'm speaking to every month. So I have penciled out all of my episode topics for the entire year. And then I look at the month ahead. So today, actually, on my to-do list is to look at October. This is September. Looking at October's episodes, do those topics still feel relevant? I write some bullet point notes under all of them. And then my team is able to take that and create content from there too. A podcast episode could be a little video clip. It could then be maybe a quote that you say that's like so good. We'll put that as a graphic. So we squeeze a lot of juice out of that. And I think that flip will just be more ROI. And I think the guesting piece, having people on, and even you offering to go on other people's, I think will be really beneficial for you too.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And I really do like that. Like I'm a planner. I like to have that big picture. Like when I drop off, it's because I haven't planned my month or quarter ahead. Yep. Whereas I actually have to sit down and make sure I do that work and do the future planning, and then it all just feels so much easier.
Totally. And the last thing too, you need to explain why being a nomad helps you understand the pain points of a mom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think if you can help bridge that gap of why moms should work with you, I think that will be really helpful too. And I think that would be interesting content. You can show like a day in your life and how like, I have to be efficient with my time because of this. And copy has been a huge solution because of these offers that I have. So I think bridging that gap for them would be really important as well.
Oh, I like that too. Okay. Yeah. Amazing.
Thank you so much for coming on and sitting in the hot seat, Erin. I enjoyed chatting with you.
Thank you so much for having me. This has just been, super useful. I can't wait to like re-listen. I'm like, it was so hard to not take notes. I was like, okay, I'm just going to be in the moment, and then I'll re-listen to it and take all of the notes about myself then.
Oh, good. Perfect. And I want everyone who's listening, go follow Erin, hype her up on the gram, because she is working on it. So Erin, where can we direct people for Instagram? And then if people want to hear more about the services you have to offer, please tell them where to go for that too.
Yeah. So both my Instagram and my website is erinmorris.co. And my podcast is Copy to Freedom.
Perfect. So, awesome. Thank you so much, and catch you guys next week. Hey, thanks for being a part of the Get Shit Done Rebelution. My hope is this episode sparked a fire in you, equipped you with some practical next steps, or inspired you to take action towards your goals. If it did, please help spread the word by sharing this episode or leaving a review on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you're tuning in. Now it's time for me to hand over the keys and let you get shit done.